Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Digital First Aid podcast. I know it's been a little while. I've been out feeling a bit under the weather, but I'm back rocking and rolling, and me and James are more excited to deliver some content. We felt that we needed to get something out there, and we wanted to discuss a really important element of an online presence, when it comes to online, when it comes to anything really, and that is your copy, your copywriting, or your, other people may call it content. Now, content is more overarching. A lot of things can fall under the content umbrella. You know, your imagery, your graphic design, your copywriting, your videos, all that can be classified as content. Within that, then you can have text content. So but that's not necessarily what we're going to talk about today. Now, when you're talking about content, you can create content. The way I kind of differentiate content and copywriting is content can be engaging, entertaining, and informative. In a sense, it could be like a blog or an article or a listicle, something like that. Whereas copywriting, on the other hand, is done for one specific reason, and that is to persuade and to sell, essentially. But before we get stuck in, I'd like to welcome my co-host, James, who I nearly forgot about, and myself, for that matter, as well. So if for you, anyone who's been who just came and don't know who in God's name this crazy duo is, I'm Gareth Melia. I'm the owner and founder of Digital First Aid, and also Media Marketing, and also ALM CRM, which is our software that we use for Digital First Aid, which is really, really cool. And we probably have a podcast coming up about that on its own. Joining me today is James McCulloch.
Yeah, I'm oh, sorry. I thought I was going to have to introduce myself there. No. I'm the copywriter. Yeah, copywriter at Media Marketing. I do some other freelance stuff for Earther and Sode, a couple other companies. So, yeah, this is something that I am particularly passionate about. So, I'm
there you go.
Enjoying speaking to you about it.
Yeah, well, there you go. James works behind the scenes, getting all this content together. It was him that, because usually we have it scheduled out. Wednesdays is our podcast day, and obviously I've been out for the count for the last couple of weeks, and he said this week is the week. So here we are. All right, like I mentioned there, we're going to be talking about copywriting. You know, copywriting is so important. It affects every aspect of your business, meaning whether you have got print, whether you've got business cards, or you've got brochures, you've got a workbook you're using, maybe not workbook, brochures, business cards, your copy on your website, your social media posts, your email marketing, everything should be done in a copywriting standpoint, because you're trying to motivate your potential or prospect clients or your attendees to do something. And if you're trying to do that, you need to implement persuasive copywriting techniques so you get them to take an action that you want. All right, what we see and notice quite often, especially on the website world, is when people go onto your website and they're reading content, the content is very brand focused. You know, it's all about the brand. We've been doing this for how many years? We've got this certification. We are the best in town. We, and we're talking all about how great we are as first aid providers, and not realizing in the end of the day, the person that is on your website that's going to come and book in a course really doesn't care. Not at the start. I know that sounds harsh. They care only first what's in it for them. And that's just the reality is. They want to find out if you can deliver and if you can provide what's in it for them first and foremost. Then they'll become interested in who you are and your brand story and your identity and what you guys offer and what makes you different from the competition and why they would choose you opposed to the person down the street. So what I would do, what I would say first is be careful that your copy on your website is client focused. You need to speak to the client's needs, what they care about, not how we feel and what we're great about. Okay. I always say you need to have 3 U's, meaning you as in the prospective client or the prospective attendee, and to 1 I. We deliver our courses for you in an interactive way. We ensure you are informed, educated in a in an interactive and enjoyable manner. All our courses are are tailored specific to your needs and are flexible, which means we can come to you whether you're at your place of work, or you can come to us at our clinic, or not our clinic, at our office. So you want to make sure that it's always tailored to them, because when we are making a purchase decision, any decision, whether it's booking in a course, whether it's booking in a consultation, whether it's buying a pair of trainers, buying a phone, we're not necessarily buying the phone because we buying the phone. We're buying the phone what it will allow us. We're not buying the course. We're not attending a course to attend a course. We're attending the course what the course is going to deliver us. We're going to get, what are we going to get from it? We're going to get the training that will be able to save lives, whether that's, and you need to really understand what is motivating them to make the decision, whether it's them, they want to learn the skills to have themselves, whether they want to be prepared if something cropped up, they want to be prepared for their family, they want to be, whether they need certification, maybe it's a work obligation and they're attending as a delegate. You need to really understand and get really granular and into their mind. You really need to wear their shoes. And you do this, we have a couple of different techniques and worksheets that we utilize. One of them is a client avatar. Client persona is essentially just who your market is. So who is the actual individual? So you need to paint a picture of them. And I mean, really get granular. Give them a name. What is their demographic? What age do they tend to be? Obviously, you're going to have different demographics and going to be varied. Now, say for instance, if you're doing public facing courses, okay, maybe that demographic is slightly different than the person that you're dealing with if you're doing workplace or occupational first aid. So I would segregate those people into 2 different demographics, because remember, if you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So that's what an effective marketing message, when people go on about marketing message is essentially just copywriting. And essentially what that means is, hold on a minute, I'm on red, I'm gonna lose James if I don't plug it in. So what we need to do is, we want to make sure that our marketing message is aligning with what our prospect wants. And you do this through personalization and targeting. So what I would say is, if you're doing say for instance, occupational first aid, which is a B2B, a business to business, and then you do B2C, which is customer facing, I would have 2 separate pages, because there's the individual that is on the B2B page, someone in the workplace first aid, it may not be going through or have the same desires or pain points as the person that is doing it as a requirement, as part of duty care, or it's part of working at the company that they're currently it's their place of work. So segregate them pages out, and that's where you get a pattern match. So when it comes to marketing, there's 2 different ways. You can, when you're showing a message or showing up in front of someone, because essentially what it is just trying to get someone's attention online, intercept that attention, and then convince them to come over and do what we want them to do. So there's two ways in which you can intercept that attention. Is one of them is through product match, is when they're on the website and they're like, oh wow, this stuff is good, and that's when you get them leaning into the content, is what we call it. And that means like that they're leaning in and they're thinking, wow, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly, what I've been looking for. And that's what we call pattern match. And then pattern interrupt is when, say for instance, they're scrolling and they're in that mindless trance that people tend to be if they're, scrolling on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever it is. And we want to snap them out of it. And that's what we have to do is pattern interrupt. So we interrupt that pattern that they're going through, and then show up and convince them to come into our world using an effective hook. All right. So, what I like to do, okay, so moving back, let's kind of digest. Look, in the end of the day, your copywriting, and this is what we have. So remember what I said about the avatar? So the avatar is your demographic, psychographics, or what they believe, what keeps them up, and what's important to them, where they reside, their occupation, if they're a family member, do they have kids, do they go to college, what kind of interests they have, do they have hobbies, what kind of music they have. Some of these things you might think, oh well, that's not really, why do I need to know what kind of what to do in their spare time? But the reality is, if we know that, your marketing message can speak to what their desires are currently getting the course, but also what is their outside desire. So people obviously have a goal as to what they're trying to achieve for the course, but then they have lifetime goals or what they're trying to achieve in the bigger picture. And if you understand that, you can kind of weave that into your marketing message, and it can be extremely effective. So you have got your client avatar. So that's who the person is, who the individual is. We have another worksheet we'll call Foundations Worksheet. So this is basically how we talk to the people. So this is through the marketing message. And we do this exercise with our clients. And this is basically, going through, how you would speak to that avatar that we mentioned before. And these are things we ask questions like, who the client is. Do they have certain tribal language, terminology that they use? You remember, you got to think like a first aid provider, but speak in the words of the people, meaning speak in the words of your ideal client. What language do they use? You don't want to bamboozle them with technobabble, meaning, terminology that they may not know, like the codes of different courses that, completely flies over the head. Clarity is king when you're trying to convert people. So make it really come down to their eye level and make sure that it's understandable and it's digestible for them to understand. So their tribal language, what keeps them up at night, what are their daily frustrations, what do they secretly desire, what might be holding them back, what are common objections from people that, if you want them to book in a course, what are the common objections that they tend to come up. So you want to neutralize and nullify those objections before they even get a chance to bring them up in their own head. So you do this through what we call the worksheet, Foundations Worksheet. And then what happens is you have this worksheet, and then what you can do is, now when you're making a social media post, you're making an email campaign, you're doing some retargeting, you're doing, your website copy. You can go over this website this copy foundation sheet, and then you're like, okay, well, this is their pain point. Let's use that, and this is what their desire. So just on that point, because what works really well, there's loads of schools of thought when it comes to copy and how you write and present copy on your website. But in a simplified, overarching explanation is what works well is you isolate pain point, you agitate pain point, maybe. So you bring that pain point to the surface, what they might be going through right now. Maybe ill-prepared, ill-equipped for certain situations, feeling overwhelmed at a possible situation that may arise. So you want to bring those to the surface. When you bring them to the surface, people generally run away from pain and run towards pleasure or desire. So, that's generally the two motivations when it comes to making a purchasing decision. All right. They want away from the pain towards the pleasure, towards the desire. So what we need to do is isolate pain point, bring that to the surface. Then what we do is present a solution to said pain point. So you don't want to bring up pain points. It's not good. It's not a good way to work if you're just bringing up pain points or bringing up problems and then not offering solutions. I think in general, anyways, even in life. But when it comes to copy, you bring up the pain points, you mirror that with solutions. And then what you want to do is position your company, you as a provider, as a bridge from getting from the pain point to where they want to be. So basically where their current state is to the desired state. Because remember, everybody buys or attends a course because they want to transform. They want to make a transition from where they are right now to whatever that desire is. Now we need to find out what their current state is and what they truly desire. And when we know that, that's an effective way of doing that. So let us go into, let's get a bit granular of say the website. James, what's important to take into consider when doing copy on a website?
Oh, I think there's a general kind of structure. I was going to kind of talk this as well, just in general for writing. So everything you're kind of talking about happens in blocks. So you're kind of putting together blocks. Essentially, it's not pretty much like story writing where you kind of free flow and do your own thing. It's really kind of the hard bit is putting together all those different ideas that you've been talking about, finding those pain points, finding actually what people are concerned about. And if you want to kind of learn a bit more, this is probably going to be reversed on the camera, but it's called Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. And it kind of talks about the way that you kind of gather your material and then you kind of stick it together. So the difficult part is actually just gathering it. The actual writing of it becomes kind of formulaic and we respond to that typically quite well. So you don't even have to be that good at writing, he said, with a writing degree. But
James does.
I think there are certain things that we come to expect of a website. The main thing is that you've got a header that answers a question. So people want to know when they come into your website, okay, what are you solving? Or like if it's different from a landing page would be something that kind of grabs their attention, like, we're working with one of our clients, 1 in 5 Australians suffer from a mental health problem. That's going to grab your landing page that makes people want to read through a copy. The website will be more sort of to do with the actual company itself. Go, okay, this is where I want to be. The subheadline might explain a little bit more, and then you get some sort of about copy which goes into the actual company itself. And then you want it under that sort of more directly, just so they can see, you want some actual services you provide, because it's not just about talking about you. It's actually you got to think about this about multiple repeat usage. So people come to that homepage, the third, second, third, or fourth time they want to be able to go, okay, I want to get that course, I want to be able to get that thing. I don't want to have to go through all of the stuff. That's what you reserve other pages for. You might do an about page, you might do another kind of fancy page down the line, but that first page needs to be very clear. Okay, I know I've landed. Here's some things I might want to know. Maybe some additional information at the bottom. Then you leverage out other pages along your header. So you might just have one for contact. Maybe you have one for blogs. Those are particularly good if you're looking at trying to rank and bring up keywords. But it's all about kind of segregating information, making sure that first homepage answers the question, yes, I'm on the right page. Okay, how do I get to the services? I think probably that would be the most important thing.
Absolutely. So yeah, James touched on a good point in when he mentioned the blocks or sections of a different website. So it needs to be taken into digestible chunks, because like you said, if you write a big passage, that's a blog post essentially, and that's not what we're trying to do. We need to have concise, punchy copy, straight to the point, and all done for a reason. If the content is not there for serving a purpose to get them to, and there's a term in copywriting, just getting them to read the next line or turn the page, essentially. So the first line is just to get them to read the second line. Second line is get them to read the third line. And if it's just a filler or if it's just fluff, it just needs to be removed. All right. So it needs to be punchy, it needs to be concise, it needs to be on point. So when you're doing some sections or blocks that you might take into consideration that are important, like James mentioned there, when someone lands on your website, you need to answer 3 questions immediately within 5 seconds. And the first one is basically who you are, and your logo kind of explains who that is. The second one is why I would choose you, especially if you're landing on the homepage and this is the first landing page. If they're going internally in your different pages, not too much, but say if they land on your homepage, you need to first of all answer the question of why I'm here. Why would you choose you? So this is why a headline needs to describe why I would choose you as opposed to a competitor. And I've seen them work well where you have like big bold claims, being mental health, being a mental health first aider you could potentially save 3 people's lives in your lifetime or something like that. It's a big bold claim. So that's a bit, it's like, wow, this is pretty crazy to think that could be the case. Then you need to support that with evidence as to how. Because first of all, someone might say, okay, if you make a big bold claim, and not just in first aid, across any industry, more so in other industries realistically, because you don't want to muddy water, you want to have it accurate. Because if you make a big bold claim, generally people are going to say, okay, well, that's not true, or I don't believe it. And then it's your job to explain how you can achieve that, or how you can do that. So we have a good formula that we use, and it's basically we help X by X without X. We equip you with life-saving first aid without it being boring, at a cost-effective rate, at a competitive rate. Now, you don't have to use that, but that's kind of how the formula would work. So yeah, you have your headline, your sub-headline, then you're moving down. You need to answer, okay, well, can I provide what I'm actually looking for? So services. And then you want to go down and give some reasons. You might have a section of like, why choose you? What's the reason behind that? We offer, blended courses. We're flexible. We come to you. We can do after hours. We can work on the weekends. This section you can put in award-winning, serviced over 1,000 clients. Then you want to go down and again, you want to be layering in it with yourself with credibility, maybe some social proof. So maybe you have a testimony, maybe you got some reviews, you want to add them in there as well, because you want to build credibility, because it's all good and well you saying how good you are, or you implying how good you are, because we don't want to say, oh, we're the best. We want to lead them down a road that gives them an indication that we are the best for sure. But they might still be thinking, okay, well, this person has an agenda, obviously. I'm on their website. There's bias for sure. So you need to support those claims or them assertions with evidence. And you do that through social proof. And, you've seen this before, proud partners with, and then you have your partners, or worked with, or trusted by, and then you have all these different logos. So again, what you're doing, you're leveraging the credibility of these credible organizations or these companies that you've worked with in the past. Or you can say, in association with or partnered with, and then you enter your RTO or whatever it is. So again, you're illustrating that you're credible, you've been around. Reviews are really good as well. If you're doing text reviews, they've just lost a little bit of the credibility. And so if you're doing text reviews, make sure you have their name. Make sure if you can get a headshot, which would be good. If you can get some video testimony, that also works well. This is a lot bit more believable. You don't need a million of those. You want to make sure that if you can get one, it's good. If you can get 3, that's even better. And basically, if you're getting these testimonies, if you can get them to address objections, it's getting a bit complicated. Whatever the common objection is, maybe it's money, maybe it's time, maybe it's effort. You want to try to get these people to address these objections within those testimonies, but that's probably getting a bit too complex. So don't worry about it. Just any testimony is good testimony in a sense, because if someone's seen you they can read a text, and they may not, they may or may not believe it. But when they see a real person that just looks like you and is relatable like you and has done exactly what you were potentially going to do, it offers them, I suppose, a sense of security, because that's in reality boiled down, when someone goes to buy it, the massive aspect is liking you and trusting you. And it goes without saying, they need to know you. If they don't know you, how the hell can they go and go and attend one of your courses? But the trust factor is a massive thing. Trust that you can deliver on what you promise. Trust that it's going to be worth the effort. Trust that there's no better option out there. So maybe what else you want to have on the website? You want to have clear call to action. So clear call to action is just a button or a step that you want them to take. And generally speaking, you want to get them to do, you want to have it clear as day and visible at all point in times, an area where they can go and book in. So if they want to essentially book a course right there and then, you have the capacity to do it, then book in there and then. If, for instance, you have to, reach out and you have to kind of confirm, dates and times and whatnot, then you need to, whatever works well for you, maybe you need to submit an inquiry form. Perhaps you're out training, you can't answer the phone, so then you want to optimize for the contact forms. For instance, you got someone in the office and phone calls are better and you convert them better. Well, then you want to optimize for a call now, So you need to have these presents. Now, bear in mind that you don't want to have assertive, meaning, get started, get in touch, book now, call to actions everywhere, because not everybody is going to be ready to book there and then. Some people are in more of the research stage, so we need to cater to them. So make sure you have what we call a transitionary call to action, which allows them to learn a little bit more about you. So that is that. So we need to have call to actions. Case studies work well. Case studies may not be applicable maybe in the occupational work side. Can work well. Again, anything is going to lend credibility and show them exactly what other people experience going through your process. Maybe even show the process, what they can expect. If someone is going to do an action, if you clear the path, generally speaking, they feel a lot more comfortable, in the sense that, unknown and uncertainty scare people. So if they understand, okay, well, first of all, you just reach out, let us know your numbers, let us know your time and dates. We schedule a quick call just to go over what you're after. We tailor a program directly to you. We send you a confirmation email. We confirm the date, and then we send you a reminder, and then we rock up, perform the course, and adios. We take care of catering if you're doing it in a venue. You get the idea. You just make it really crystal clear of what they can expect. That works well. I've seen processes working well. What else we got? If you got any awards, you can put them in there as well. You can add in what we call bullet point copy. So bullet point copy is just little quick snippets, as to, what you promise. Our courses are perfect for, and then underneath it is like perfect for people that are looking for a fun and interactive course, looking for super educational, looking for a quick refresher course, looking for someone that's looking for a course that's flexible and can cater to your specific needs. These sort of segments or blocks and sections all need to be in different sections, so it's not all together, So hopefully you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. And for those of you just listening, it might be a little bit harder because I'm not doing my my body language. I'm here.
You're voguing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like a mime that won't shut up. But hopefully you get an idea. Is there anything else you want to add on the website side of things?
Well, I think it's important to note also that there's a hierarchy in terms of the actual content you're doing. So that first little bit, the headline, the subheadline, and then the why would you choose you, and that is like a paragraph or two, the max, before you get down to what you're actually selling people. you've got to think, you're going to try and optimize for all types of people coming to your website. So there's going to be people who instantly, okay, that answers the question. I just need to book a course straight away. I don't really want to think about it. Then there's people who are going to go, okay, that's interesting. I see the course. Okay, I want to know what other people have said. And you're going to scroll down further. So at the bottom is maybe the less important stuff, but stuff nonetheless that people are going to want to reassure them, okay, this is the course for me. So really thinking about the hierarchy and keeping it at the top, particularly minimal. There's a thing I think with search engine optimization, most pages, content pages should be around 400 words. But sometimes it kind of just works out that clutters the space. Sometimes it's better just to have it a bit more streamlined. I really think maybe that first headline, subheadline, and paragraph before you get to what you're doing. And then, okay, what else would someone need perhaps to be convinced? What would someone, maybe if I'm your employee, Gareth, if I was coming to you and saying, hey, check out this course, what would Gareth need to know? What would Gareth want to hear before booking a course?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes absolute sense. So you need to figure out, like, what is the objective of a certain page? If we're boiling it down and think, okay, it's a specific page. Well, one thing for this, most important thing is I rank high in Google. Well, then maybe the content is more important. But if it's like a service page and it's just you want to convert, then take into consideration the conversion rate. Now, it doesn't mean you can have both. It's not like it can be binary. Like it's you can have a, so like James said, the most important stuff at the top, because realistically, as people scroll down, you're going to have, the further down it is, the higher the drop off. But what it means is you can have that page really, really long, and you've seen it before. Like, that's what a sales page is. It could go on forever, and it's just literally keeps going on different stats, screenshots as to why this is a brilliant offer and the best product in the world. And it just keeps going on forever and ever, because the theory is, the longer the scroll, if they're scrolling down, the more invested they are. So you might as well just keep padding it.
Well, that's the purpose of a landing page, surely, as well. That's it. That page just exists separate from your homepage, which is just, here's a page of text that I'm going to try and get people invested, but by the end, I'm going to get a conversion. So there, usually you'll find if you get one of those and you go, this just seems to be a lot of text. That's usually, it's more directed also at a particular industry. So you might find, okay, this is more relevant to me. That's because, the homepage relevant for everyone, the landing page, you can write as many landing pages as you want and then target them at your audience and then go through. And that's just like super relevant copy going, okay, this answers all the queries and questions I had about my industry.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we touched on at the very start. So your homepage it encompasses your entire website. So it has the bits and pieces of all your different services and different courses. Whereas a landing page, you're directing them direct to a specific service. Like, remember what I said, like a first aid trainer, a standard first aid, and then you've got a mental health first aid, or pediatric and occupational first aid. They're two completely different kind of services. There's crossover for sure, but they're pretty different in the sense that the person that's reading them is going to be a totally different mindset. So that's why it makes sense to have a specific landing page tailored to that service. It also helps in terms of SEO, because Google then understands, okay, well, this page is for mental health first aid and it's not for standard first aid, because otherwise they can get confused and you can do either keyword cannibalization, or it just it bamboozles Google and you just don't rank at all quite highly. So that's why I really like to have them standing alone. Your homepage can have bits and pieces of the different services, and then it can have links to them specific landing pages. So people, land on the homepage, and then it's almost like a filtration system. It's like, okay, well, I've found, I've seen what they're about. I'm kind of happy to explore a bit further. Boom, I'm looking for a refresher course for workplace first aid. Boom, I click into that, and then it brings me to exactly what I'm looking. You're speaking to their needs and where they're at right now in that present moment in time. Because with marketing, it's very important. Marketing is everything's about timing. So you just need to make sure that you like, it's a lot easier to convert someone if they are interested. So you got to understand where that traffic is coming from. So if someone is coming from Google, or someone was referred to you, you could land them on whatever page, and the chances that they'll convert is extremely high. Now, if you're driving cold traffic to a page, this is where landing pages are going to be your best friend. Also, with landing pages, it doesn't have as many distractions. So you don't have, because what happens is people get decision fatigue. And you see all these different links and clicks and for different services. They get analysis paralysis. They don't take any action. So the idea is to rid them of that burden and just have it focus on one objective and one objective only. And that's just for them to book in the course, at the very least, to reach out and inquire about that course. So that is kind of like an overarching theme of what website copy is. One important other element to just kind of touch on, it's a little bit of a sidetrack, but I think it's very important when you're talking about the whole, because look, in the end of the day, like I said, you might be reading this because you're trying to transform. You might be like, okay, I want to learn copy because I want to get more bookings. But realistically, you're not looking for copy, you're looking for the end result. The end result is getting more bookings. So there's a little bit more than just the copy. The copy is a really, really important aspect of it. It's what hooks them in. It's what emotionally connects with them. Remember, people make purchasing decisions based on the emotions through the amygdala, then they will rationalize through logic. So we need to connect with them on an emotional level first. But the important thing is, remember we talked about the client avatar, so who the person is. Then we talked about the worksheet, which is the language in which you speak to that person. There's one other element that I didn't mention that I think is important, and that is where the market resides. So where you find that person. So the person, the language you speak to the person, and where they hang out. Look, if I was trying to sell football boots, I wouldn't go up to the top of the mountain and try to send, cleats for players. It makes no sense. If I'm trying to sell them, I would either go to a market. That's why it's called the market. You go to the market. Or I would go outside a football pitch. I would go to a training ground and I would set up a stall there. It just makes sense that I go where the people are. So you need to understand all traffic is not created equally. You need to have high quality traffic. If you have high quality traffic, it makes everything downstream so much easier to convert. So bear in mind what the content is for and who it's for and where you're going to reach out. So yeah, if you're doing some cold outreach, your content may need to be tweaked a little bit different than someone that's going to be coming in from your Google My Business searches, and they put up the hand and they're ready to buy and they're keen as a bean, and it's a lot easier to convert. Whereas if you're going out and you're trying to drum up business, and everybody should be doing this, you should have an outreach strategy. All right, you can't rely on just word of mouth and inbound leads, people coming to you. You need to have an effective, especially if you want to grow, an effective outreach strategy. And essentially what you do is you go over to these different markets, you shake the bush, and then eventually someone will step forward and say, well, I'm interested. Then once that person steps forward, because not everybody will, then you need, okay, perfect, they've given me a signal. I then can start to re-engage with him, remarket to them. And that's where, you have specific content to the person, depending on where they are in the buyer's journey. I can't believe I didn't mention the buyer's journey. I'm usually always talking about it. Just to give you a quick idea of what the buyer's journey is. James, do you want to explain it?
What do you mean, like,
so,
just from...
So buyer's journey, when someone is going to you make a purchase, for instance, like there's what we call a buyer's journey or a buyer's path. James is more familiar with it when it comes to the buyer's path. So the start of the buyer's path is a complete stranger. The end of the buyer's journey, the buyer's path, is a person that's booked in. So in order to bring them down here, generally speaking, you're going to need multiple interactions. The higher the investment, financially or time wise, the more interactions or touch points they need to make that purchase. If someone is selling a course and it's $70, that can be done what we call an impulse buy, and they can just do it on a whim. They don't need to stew on it. They don't need to think about it for days and days. They can buy. But if you're doing if it's a higher investment, it might take a bit more interaction. So what we need to do is bring them down this buyer's journey. And we do this by having the capacity to reach out to them. So this is why it's important that on our website we have tracking codes, we have email, we try to encourage them to sign up. So in order then we can engage with them, we can send them out drip emails, which again, each time they read an email, each time they land on our website, each time they see a marketing campaign on Facebook or a retargeting campaign, that again is a touch point. It's showing in their head, okay, well, I've seen this person here and omnipresence, they're on this channel, they're on this channel. And then it's like, okay, well, these are credible. These guys are everywhere. There must be, something about them. And you can only do this with retargeting. So that is important as well to understand in the overarching, if you're looking at marketing and your company in a 10,000 foot view, this is extremely important to take into consideration. You have to be in the. Sorry, James?
So I was going to say, I think that's practically why also, well, just as a practical example, where we do email campaigns, or we have Facebook groups, is because people don't really, they might open you on the first email, but then you continually get seen, really. So the more times you can kind of be seen, the more times you can kind of engage. And also it's partly just to test what people are looking at. So for emails, for example, we always kind of change and test. Maybe we do an A/B test with the subject line. We just see, what are people going to engage with, what in that particular instance sort of tickles their fancy. So it might take a couple of them. Sometimes also takes a couple because we're also warming up the email when it goes to someone's spam folder and they never see it in the first place. But often it's just to kind of, build that credibility and build that buyer's journey, because in that first instant, even if people have looked at you before, they might forget they had, or they might forget who you are, and eventually you become a lot more familiar.
Yeah, and James touched on a very valid point. Look, even if say for instance you've done a course, you've completed a course, someone has completed a course with you, and they're familiar with you. You've got them in your database. Does that mean that you're with you for life? Absolutely not. Now, if you stayed with them and reminded them, you increase your chances. But life gets in the way, and that doesn't mean they don't have loyalty to you. It just means that someone else out there, and this is exactly what we teach our clients, is you need to go and intercept that and show up and initiate that conversation, so you can bring them over to you, and then the next time they're willing to comprehend going for a first aid course, that they could do it with your company. So you can't take anything for granted, is probably what I'm saying. And the way you do that is being top of mind. Like if you are sending out emails, and you don't want to torture people and not send out emails if there's no value add to it. But even if they're not open and they're seen in the subject line, and this again is subliminally etching in their mind, your brand, and allowing you to stay top of mind. And then when time comes around, you were there for them, you get the call. So this is a very important element. Now, copywriting, these techniques, these tips, these pointers, these apply in every aspect. So, if you're doing social media, for instance, that's the same kind of principle. Now, a little bit different. And to be honest, we'd be here all day if I was going through different pointers. But say, for instance, social media, you're doing a paid campaign. One thing we like to do with copy is, well, first of all, you can call out your ideal client in their first letter or first sentence. And that can be attention. If you're, attention all moms. Say, for instance, you're doing pediatric first aid. So now you by saying that you've eliminated everybody else, that they're not part of your target market, and then they'll scroll past and they'll only really focus on the people you're trying to speak it to. And when someone reads it, and say, for instance, they're a mother or a father, and they've a child and they're interested in pediatric first aid, or for instance, they're in childcare or whatever it is, whoever you're talking to, if you're talking to your new parents, they will resonate with it a bit more. So that's the first line. Second line, so again, it's literally calling them to attention, getting them to read the second line. Second line, you could pose a question. And that's just a simple question. Are you a new mom and you want to make sure that you have everything, you have the skills and knowledge to, to deal with any traumatic experience that may arise or something like that. Shorten it, and this is James's word. But essentially what the premise is, you're asking a question. When you pose a question, it's what we call transferring the idea. If you ask a question, if I ask you a question, to answer that question, you need to internalize the question. And what that means is you're now connected, or at least emotionally invested slightly. And that's what we're trying to do. So again, first line is just a call of attention. Second one is to pose a question to get them invested. So you ask the question and then you go down and you're just kind of asking, again, that question as well as to illustrate a pain point, to bring agitate a pain point, bring it to the surface, just like I mentioned at the start of this podcast. And then you follow the same principle. You go down, you present what you have to offer, then you finish, always finish with a strong call to action. If you leave people with nothing to do or don't tell them what to do, left to their own devices, generally people will just, they probably won't do anything. So what we need to have a strong call to action. If you want to learn more, click the learn more. If you want to book a course in, we've only 3 available spots, create scarcity, click the link below. If you are want to see about reduced day rates, fees, send message to inquire. You're literally just telling them what to do, and when people are generally told what to do, they're more likely to do it, because generally people want to be led, should I say. So I think that is probably it. We could go on for hours, days even, perhaps. Copy is such a fascinating one. It's so important. It really is. If someone lands on the website, images is what they skim through. Images is what they look at first. It is what the copy that hooks them in. So you should really have a good hook story offer on everything you do. Every page, every element, and it should be coherent across the board. And this is why it's good to have a brand story. I wouldn't worry too much about a brand story, but at least you understand, what your company stands for, what's your values, and what you guys offer. So I hope this has been helpful. Go on, James.
I was going to say a quick point also on blogs, I think, because they're kind of different beasts altogether. So blogs are they exist to help you with a query or question you have. So if you go searching, my child has fallen, and how do you look after it? Or you searching anything that you want to know, a blog is like a little bit of it's like a longer form ad essentially for your services, that it's more of an information piece. So you read that, you go, okay, this is good information, and that kind of helps sell the service, whatever you're doing. So it's really good also just for helping with your own ranking on Google as well. So if you want to rank for some keywords, you want to just build up your profile, essentially that piece of writing is quite different from that kind of quick call to actions you might find from social or websites, where it's more not about your services, at least until the very end. The beginning is kind of, okay, I've got a question. You interest people by answering the question and being helpful. So that's essentially what they service for. So anything you can think of, like Wikipedia, probably, well, you don't want to write exactly that, but that's a good one, because people go straight away, okay, what's that thing I was thinking about? What's the answer? So basically, you're trying to answer questions for people.
Yeah, exactly. And on the blog front is so put yourself in the mindset of what person, if you're answering this query or you're writing this blog, you need to answer questions that they don't even know they have in their head. But like logically, what would be the next answer? Okay, how long does a first aid course take, generally speaking? Well, it could vary depending on which one the course. So you need to specify that. So maybe that could be the overarching theme of it, how long. But within that, you maybe go through the different options. You take into consideration whether, you know, it's blended, whether you could do a little bit of it online if it's applicable. But you're answering queries that may come up, and because Google will search that and they will think, okay, well, is this content all encompassing? Is it all to do with, you know, you may have one focus keyword, and that keyword would be first aid courses. Say, for instance, your main keyword is first aid courses. So you're writing a blog about first aid courses. You want to link it back to your blog page, your money page. But you want to rank, you could actually rank higher. You could rank a couple of keywords within this if they're LSI keywords, meaning if they're relevant keywords. So they can't be, you know, first aid courses, and then all of a sudden it's just like manual handling course, because it's so far off. It's too much of a stretch. But if you do first aid courses, then you could have a keyword in the first aid courses, Birmingham, if you're in that area. First aid courses costs, maybe. What is you know, the length of a first aid course? They're all keywords or long tail keywords that you can have within that one article, and that will be good because it's relevant and it's following a coherent plan. You're answering different questions, because, you know, obviously when you're on blogs, you're answering queries, but you can also, you know, can add in transactional keywords, so keywords that actually generate revenue, you know, to get bookings as well. So it's not just about answering queries. There's other elements to it. Is there anything else you want to add in, James, on the blog front, because you're the blog man?
No, I think that so how we do it generally is we will, and it's also a way you can look at doing it, is we will get our keywords from maybe from an SEO expert or an agency. So that we have a couple of keywords that we know we want to rank for. So that's particularly good at the start if you're trying to build a portfolio. You kind of, and also if you're looking for ideas as well. So you go, okay, here's something that people are searching for. Is it something that I provide or something that I'm expert in? And then you yourself, or you can hire someone else to do it, just write out content for that. And so as you say, like, you don't want to go too off the track. Like, you don't want to start including everything you can and making it an ad for yourself. Generally, if I do it for anyone, usually I might link back at the end. Like, you want to try and put a few links through it, because that backlinking is very good. But I might link back at the end and go, you know, if you want to know more, or provide the service at the end. But the most important thing is that, okay, here's someone's question. I'm answering that maybe in the first couple of paragraphs. I'm adding any amendments that they might need to know about as well. Like if it's first aid courses, I'll talk a little bit about what's involved. Maybe there's something about the link there, or, you know, availability. And then we get to what the actual your courses are. So yeah, I would kind of recommend sort of finding out what keywords or what things you want to be seen for and using them to sort of direct your blogs.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, blogging for the sake of blogging is not bad. There's, you know, content is content, and Google loves content, but content with purpose is really what you want. And it should be, if you're doing an SEO strategy and you're trying to rank high on Google, you know, content is going to be vital for that. So just bear in mind that you're creating content and it's correlating with an effective SEO strategy, and it's serving the SEO strategy, because that's where it really provides dividends, essentially.
I have my own blog, you know, after a day of Gareth-related frustrations, which I do just for the hell of it.
That's it, James. That's his happy place when he's writing blogs. When he's not crying under the table from me. I think that's about it. Don't you agree, James, or is there anything else that we can, anything else from the lemon we can squeeze?
Yeah, I thought I might just, before I kind of go into what we're doing next week, I might just kind of plug this one here, Strunk and White, The Elements of Style. It's a really good, useful, like 90-page book. If you're not really confident with writing, you're not really confident with grammatical language, it's really good just to flick through. You can find rules and commas and everything. So, like, as I say, the writing part of it is not that important, because it's really about just answering people's questions. But if you are kind of scared about, unleashing your writing on the internet, this is a really good little handy tool. And also another thing, one of our clients at B&I recommended, Gareth, you can't see that, it's on my Kindle, the Elements of Eloquence by Mark Forsyth. So it's just going on about all the different stylistic techniques you can employ, which kind of really hit home for us. We don't know quite why we love them, but we kind of love them. So that's more detailed, but I definitely recommend Elements of Style. And again, Jim Edwards' Copywriting Secrets. I'll put that in the link below as well, just so you can grab that, as well as some of the worksheets. I think I've just put down that avatar, just a PDF for the avatar worksheets, maybe some starters as well.
They will have to reach out for that, James.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's for our clients. Unfortunately, you'd have to reach out and request that specifically for that.
All right. But you can do that anyway. If you want to get one of those worksheets.
Definitely. For the client avatar, absolutely. Reach out for that. The foundation worksheet and the marketing, that's a little bit more complex and you need guidance through it. It's not something you can kind of run with. It's probably confusing more than anything. So, look, send us a message if any inquiries you want to learn a bit more about this. If, for instance, you want to learn about that foundation worksheet and you want to conduct a session through that, by all means, reach out. If there's ever anything we mention in this, we love to hear from you, especially someone who's actually taking the time and consideration to watch this, especially towards the end. We would love to have a chat. Yeah. And with that being said, we will wrap it up. And that's all from us here in Christchurch, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Take care.
I think let's just say quickly before, and I think in another week or two.
James doesn't want to go, I know. James, I'll just leave you with them, will you? I've got a meeting coming up at 9. That's why I'm.
All right. Yeah. I was just going to say we've got our next podcast will probably be with one of your clients or someone you reached out to as well. So we're actually going to be talking to first aid professionals. So that would probably be one to listen to as well. Yeah,
it'll be more of an interview style, and what makes them, they're really, really successful company locally, and they've scaled extremely fast in a short period of time. And we're going to have a sit down with the great guys over Fast Co, and that will be an interesting one. So definitely stay tuned. That will be very exciting.
Okay.
We will share links and information. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. All the best. Bye for now.